You guys didn't find this podcast for no reason. This is going to be the single most valuable video on the internet, hands down. So whatever you're doing before watching this, stop it, take out pen, pencil, and paper, and let's get to work.
I can't stress you guys enough like how valuable this video is actually going to be. This is actually step by step how to fully overcome DPDR.
This is everything I wish I would have known. Like if I knew this, I would have recovered in 1 second.
I had, again, a panic attack. I remember, calling my friends. I would text all my friends, I'm gonna die. I literally thought I was gonna die that day.
I had my first panic attack. And that's the day everything came crumbling down. Reality just snapped in front of me. If you want to actually recover within weeks, follow what we say. If you want to take years or months or decades, do anything else. All right, what's up guys? I'm Andres Wolf, founder of Reality Reconnect, the #1 DPDR recovery program. And at the time of this recording, we've helped 129 people make a full recovery from DPDR. So I'm super proud to say that. But today I partnered with my guy, Nick Dorenzo, also known as Nick DPDR. And today we're gonna be breaking down exactly how to overcome DPDR. And this is gonna be the single most valuable video on the internet, hands down. So whatever you're doing before watching this, stop it, take out pen, pencil, and paper, and let's get to work.
Yeah, what's up guys? I'm the founder of the Highest Self program, Nick Dorenzo. And yeah, I also run an insanely good DPDR program. We help everyone overcome DPDR. And I can't stress you guys enough like how valuable this video is actually going to be. What we mentioned and what we go over, the topics we mentioned, the concepts, these things won't just like get you halfway there. These things aren't gonna help you just manage your symptoms. This is actually step by step how to fully overcome DPDR, not in a month, not in like 5 months, like literally in weeks. All right, so if you actually implement this, it's guaranteed, it's inevitable. All right, and Andres, I want you to share like a little bit about your story. Like, how did it start for you, and really, how did your story go?
Yeah, we're gonna go over our stories briefly. If you guys want a more in-depth, view on stories and all that, then go into our last podcast we did where we really dived into it for like 45 minutes. But for me, everything started. So just to give you a little background, obviously I didn't have any anxiety growing up. I didn't know what mental health was. I didn't know what depression was. I didn't know what any of that was. And that's why it hit me so hard when I had my first panic attack. So long story short, I've been smoking weed for a good bit, just like yourself, as you know. And it wasn't ever a problem. It was great. And then one day, I smoked a little bit too much. I also dabbled into some mushrooms as well prior to this. And I had my first panic attack. And that's the day everything came crumbling down. Reality just snapped in front of me, just broke down in front of me. I'll never forget that night where I thought my brain was broken. I thought I was never going to be the same again. The panic, I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. I accepted death that day. And then, long story short, the next day I woke up disconnected, didn't really know what the hell was going on, researching. I was obsessed with finding a solution. And that's what triggered the entire feedback loop that we're gonna talk about. And that's what DPDR is. And yeah, that's just how it started. How about yourself?
Yeah, and it's crazy how like similar stories are. Yeah, I mean, like 4 years ago, I think it was like around 4.5 years ago, I was just deep into my vices, and I wasn't really aligned with, the best version of me, and I was dabbling into everything, and, I was smoking weed at the time. I was even like abusing my ADHD medication, a lot of things like that. And one day, my ADHD medication wore off, and it hit me like super hard, this random anxiety out of nowhere. First time I actually ever experienced it. I didn't really experience anxiety before that. So when that came on, like it was the first time ever, and I had, again, a panic attack. I remember, calling my friends. I would text all my friends, I'm gonna die. I literally thought I was gonna die that day.
Same.
And what happened was like that whole night I thought I had like some schizophrenia. My mind was racing, like thoughts were just coming through and through, and I truly thought it was like literally the end of my life. Like seriously, it was the most terrifying experience. I even went to, the hospital that week. All these things. I had like visual symptoms everywhere, but that set on for 4 years. So yeah, I had it a very long time, and I really thought I was the one exception. I thought I'd be there for the rest of my life. So
I know. Man, I can't imagine what it's like to experience it for that long. Of course, like my clients have experienced it for that long, and I help them overcome it.
Yeah.
But like to actually live through that, I had it for 6 months myself. So yeah, a little more backstory. So that happened in January of 2024, my first panic attack. And then from there, I had it every single day until June 9th.
Yeah.
And June 9th was the day I told myself I was going to recover. There was no other way. And it was life or death. And then from there, I made a full recovery in 5 weeks.
Incredible.
So, you know, like a lot of people, they're kind of like, oh, you only had it for 6 months. But like, there's no other way of saying like, I couldn't have had it for any longer. If I had it for a day longer, I would have taken my own life. You know, the suicidal aspect of things was super real. And I just couldn't take it. And that's why I recovered so quickly, because it was life or death, you know? So, let's talk about the symptoms we experienced, though.
I'm about to say the same thing.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean,
yeah. So why don't we go over like all the symptoms, or just most of the symptoms that can happen with DPDR?
Right.
So,
I mean, I'm going to ask you first, like, what were your main symptoms that you experienced?
yeah, my main symptoms were visual symptoms by far. Visual symptoms and existential thoughts.
Yeah.
Worst symptoms ever. Besides just like feeling detached from family, friends, reality, not recognizing, you know, family, things like that was terrifying. And not recognizing myself, obviously, but like the visual symptoms were so bad because I felt like I would wake up and they were always there.
Always there as a reminder.
Always there. And then you always question like, okay, is this from a drug? Is this, did I, you know, fuck myself over for life? So yeah, the visual symptoms was one of the, you know, I'd say my worst. Existential thoughts, questioning if this was going to last forever, if I was going to die, and then, you know, I just questioned everything about death. My relationship with God was slipping, all of that stuff. So how about you? Like what were your main like worst symptoms?
My main symptoms, by far, I would say number one was existential thoughts, because I had a very, very terrible existential crisis, existential dread, literally just even fear of existence as a whole. It was horrible. Like every day I'd wake up literally not knowing what the hell I was doing here. And I would try to do normal human things, but that concept didn't even I couldn't even fathom the concept of humans. And that was the worst by far. And then I would say just like the intrusive thoughts, I kind of go hand in hand with that. Just, you know, violent, scary, really disturbing thoughts that I would have, just my mind racing 24/7. And then the overall disconnection. That was obviously a staple of DPDR, which is the worst. It's like I always felt like I was living behind my eyes, and I was like floating at times. Nothing felt real. Like I didn't feel real. The depersonalization was horrible, where my own hands, my limbs, my face, my body parts, none of it felt like it was mine. And that was absolutely terrible as well. And then I would say the identity problems too, where I genuinely like the personality. You know how like, I don't know if you had this, where like my personality was gone, you know, like everything that was me was gone and I didn't even know who I was.
Dude, yeah. That's something I had too. It was like every laugh and smile were completely like, it was like I was almost acting, like playing a character every single day. Just because the thing is, I'm sure a lot of you guys that are experiencing this is like no one really knows, or it's really hard for people to even tell. Like people would have no idea. And again, because you become a really good actor, you become really good at faking laughing.
Yeah, no one can tell. No one can tell.
It's super like weird because it feels like everyone should know, but like you get really good at acting, especially like after 4 years of having it. Like you know, you start.
And actually, one symptom I wanted to bring up that I feel like we have never talked about, I don't know if you experienced this, was like I felt like, I don't know how to explain this. I felt like it was almost like a spiritual awakening. It felt like I was having this spiritual awakening where like, oh, I have this perspective that no one knows. And like, this is what life is really like. Yeah. And everyone else is living like this other fake life. And then I realized that was all BS. That was just BS. And I still have people comment on my stuff lately where they're like, oh yeah, it's just a spiritual awakening. And I said, it's a lie. That's the opposite of spiritual awakening. I've had a real spiritual awakening. That is not a spiritual awakening. That's life on hell. That's like living hell on earth, you know? So I definitely want to clear that up.
Of course.
But let's go through all the symptoms, because like the main priority here, like I said, on the last podcast, we really touched upon how we experience every single one of these, but let's just go through everything so we can show them that they're not alone by any means, right? So I'll start off with some of the psychological symptoms, right? Feeling detached from yourself is depersonalization, feeling detached from reality or surroundings, derealization, distorted sense of time, the existential thoughts, the feeling like a robot, feeling like you're going crazy or losing control, heightened self-awareness, constantly monitoring your own actions, feelings of unreality, loss of emotions, not recognizing yourself in the mirror, feeling detached from yourself and your body and feeling like you're living in third person. Yeah, do you want to bring up any?
Yeah, I want to mention some of the physical symptoms as well.
Of course.
Some physical symptoms that can come is like visual distortions, like the blurriness, tunnel vision, just lights being extremely bright. There's like dimming. There's a bunch of visual symptoms.
The visual symptoms are, I forgot to bring
2D
that up.
vision.
I forgot to bring that up. Visual symptoms are one of my worst symptoms. Like,
Yeah.
I went to so many eye doctors, eye specialists trying to figure out what was wrong with my vision.
Of course.
It's like, I felt like I couldn't see at times, or it was super blurry or super fuzzy. We all have that staticky vision. Every single one of us, probably.
Just the TV
static.
Yeah.
It's the classic. Hated that though.
Yeah, like auditory distortions. Like I thought I was deaf. I remember like I would try to pop my ears throughout the day because I thought my ears were clogged with water. So I had like crazy, I don't know if you had that as well.
I had where I felt like I was hearing underwater. I felt like muffled hearing.
Yeah, that's what I'm describing. Exactly.
Yeah. Cool. What else?
It's like head pressure.
Experiencing the world is like dreamlike or foggy. Living your life. That was a big one for me. I felt like I was in a movie. I felt like I was like living in a movie. It was horrible. Feeling like there's a barrier between you and the world, struggling to connect with your loved ones, sense of unreality, like you said, the visual distortions, all of that. The fatigue is so real, just feeling super tired and drained.
Yeah.
The dizziness is another one where it's usually like, it happened to me when I used to go outside. When I used to go outside, I just would get like this dizziness, and it was like also I was gonna pass out damn near.
Yeah.
You know? That's such a common symptom.
Dude, that was actually when I first ever experienced DPDR, that's when I went to the hospital because I was at a football practice and I thought I was going to pass out. And I remember going home and chugging Gatorades and trying to get like my blood sugar up.
Right.
And and I thought the staticky vision was crazy at that time too. I thought that was related to my blood sugar being low. And I remember researching and Googling like all about exactly those things. So yeah, the dizziness, 100%, man.
You know, we can all relate to that. Just Googling your exact symptoms, trying to find the exact Reddit post or YouTube video that has your exact symptoms as part of the condition. Obsessively researching is 100% a part of the condition.
Of course.
What else we got? Heart palpitations, digestive issues, physical numbness, memory issues, confusion, overanalyzation of things. And you can finish it off with emotional.
There's also like emotional and behavioral symptoms. So like just general like anxiety, panic. Like usually the state you're in is usually a lot more anxiety provoking. Depression can happen. There's also like social withdrawal, so isolating yourself. It was also like feeling isolated just because you're distanced from people around you. Like that was my thing, is like I would feel like permanently disconnected from everyone. It was like I was just in peak isolation.
Yeah. And I would bring up too, like the fear of permanence, like almost the fear of permanence and the fact that everyone thinks their case is special. That's also one of the symptoms.
There's symptoms of the thing.
There are very few people that I've ever talked to that didn't think that their case was special somehow. They didn't have like this some unique symptom. Almost every single person thinks their case is special, unique, and almost every single person feels like this is permanent, like they can't overcome this. But the good news is that we give them hope. So they can see, like, you can overcome it. Absolutely. But back in our day, before us,
we didn't have any hope.
There was no one to really say, like, hey, like, you can overcome this in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
There was no one to say that, right? Which is why I think what we're doing is so powerful, even for, obviously, our clients, helping them recover, but for others who can see, like, okay, if Nick can do it, if Andres can do it, if all their clients can do it, there has to be a way. You know, and I think that hope is everything because belief is everything.
Yeah.
So.
And we had to become our own hero, right? Like we genuinely felt like in our case there was no one, so we had to become the person that we always needed for ourselves. And we always like, of course, we had to become our best self before we can help anyone else. Mm-hmm. Super hard to help people if you have nothing. You know, your cup is empty, right? So we had to fill our cups up and actually help ourselves. And it gives us the ability to make this podcast and give you guys literally like the secrets that go behind our recovery and how we actually provide these recoveries.
Yeah. I'm so excited to break it down.
I'm so hyped.
We're just going to go all in. So let's get into it. So,
and also I want to mention, like, with these symptoms, there's many more symptoms. Like there's impossible. It's going to take us 3 hours to name all the symptoms. So I guarantee like your symptom, if there's anything else, like we've had, like, there's symptoms out there. We've had clients with other symptoms as well.
There's so many. It's impossible to name them all.
Yeah.
And there's some that you can't even put into words. So,
No language for it. Yeah.
Yeah. But we definitely went over the majority of them. And it's also important to note that you don't have to have all these symptoms to experience DPDR.
Yeah.
You definitely don't need to, like a lot of people tell me like, oh, I only have the just the disconnection. I don't really have the existential thoughts. I was like, yeah, that's okay. It's still DPDR, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, guys, we built a masterclass for you guys, and we have about an hour and 40 minutes around there to go through everything. So let's get started.
I'm pumped.
First of all, and just the pep talk. We need to get you guys in the right mindset.
Guys, the
to be
mindset,
honest.
like the mindset is the absolute first most important. You can't even introduce the order we're taking these things is extremely important.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you have a weak mindset going into this, everything else is not going to work. The mindset is the absolute most important, vital part of it before everything else. Everything else is just as important, but in the wrong order, you're not going to be able to make any progress, right?
And that's why in our content, we talk so much about mindset. I believe it's like 90%,
It's the
right?
cornerstone.
The 10% is like just personalization, to be honest, is like actually personalizing a plan, you know, helping them through each step of the recovery process. But if you can understand the mindset and you have a basic action plan, you implement it every single day, you're golden. You know, so let's get into it, guys. So the DPDR pep talk, I love it. I'm going to get everyone fired up. So, okay, yeah. Something I wish I would have heard when I was going through it. So, number one, you guys didn't find this podcast for no reason. This popped up on your YouTube, however you found this. This is for a reason, okay? This is time. It is time for you to finally step up to the plate and to stop researching and finding excuses to not recover and to get out of your victim mindset. Stop feeling sorry for yourself and actually take action in your life, okay? One of my favorite quotes is, nothing changes if nothing changes. If you guys are going to keep doing the same exact things every single day, the same bad habits, the same coping mechanisms, the same everything, you're going to get the same exact output. So today's the day where things change for you, where you actually step up, you take responsibility for your life, and you finally go all in.
Yeah. And you know what I said? Like the pain of going through DPDR for another day, week, month, year is so much worse than just going 110% all in and actually applying the things we're going to give you. Seriously, like that's why Andres couldn't go any more than 6 months. Because seriously, like for me, the idea of living the rest of my life like this is so much worse than testing yourself. Why not go all in? Why not go out and implement this and never give up? You need to understand it has to be 150, 110%, everything you have and nothing less. All right. If you cut yourself shortcuts, this is not going to work. You need to have the idea and the mindset that like, this is it. This is all you got. Like, this is your life.
And I want to add, it should piss you off that you're wasting your life. It should genuinely burn in your soul that people out there went through the same thing, overcame it, and are living their lives to the fullest, like us, like our clients, and you are making excuses every day to why, like, oh yeah, one day I'm going to wait it out. For one day, magically, it's going to fall into my lap. That's not going to happen, ever. So let that dream go and actually take action in your life. Okay.
Absolutely.
It should burn. Like the thing that got me to the point where I made a full recovery so quickly was that I envisioned the worst case scenario, right? So I want you guys to do that. Envision what's the worst case scenario, okay? You can choose to recover, you can choose not to recover. Let's say you're like, whatever, I'll just wait it out. What happens when you wait it out and wait it out and wait it out? What does that mean for your job, for your family, for your future kids, for your life, for your mental health? What does that mean for you? So genuinely ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario? And if you don't like that, that should give you goosebumps. That should damn near give you another panic attack, because that's your life if you don't take action after watching this.
And I want to say, you don't need motivation. You don't need like that burst of, you don't even need that initial burst of energy to start. What you need is a reason and a why and a freaking meaning, like going into this. Like if you don't have something that's greater than just your selfish reasons to recover, when you're trying to get out of bed and you're having a tough day, recovery is not 100% linear. You're going to have a rough day. During that tough moment, you're going to fold. You're going to fall back into your old ways. But for me, it wasn't it was obviously for myself, but I had to fix myself to be able to support for my future wife, future family, future kids. So think about you. I don't if you're a mother, father right now, or even if you're going to be one in the future, if you're going to be married in the future, how do you expect to be the person that can provide for those people if you can't even feel real yourself, if you can't even look in the mirror and recognize yourself? How are you going to look at your kids and recognize them? That was my fear. And that is what is needed. You need to have a strong enough why and reason before anything else even can be in front of you.
That's a great point, because at a certain point I remember overcoming this wasn't a big enough reason. Like for myself, it wasn't a big enough reason. But when I started to think okay, what would the younger version of myself, how would they feel looking at me right now in my current position? I felt disgusted. And I was like, okay, how about my family that's taken care of me my whole life? Disgusted. How about, my future family? I can't have a future family with this. I want to die,
Yeah.
So at a certain point, you have to look for other motivators in your life to get you out of bed and to get you going, And for me, I would say those are the 1 and 2. I did it for my younger self. I did it for the version of me that wanted everything. And I did it for my future family, that they're waiting on me to step up. If I don't step up, they don't exist,
Yeah.
So they're waiting for me. And that really drove me.
And guys, before we go into it, I want to give you guys a little framework. It's believe, act, prove, identity, stronger belief. You guys first have to believe it's possible. You don't have to fully believe okay, this is 100% possible. A symptom of DPDR is that you can't do it. Mm-hmm. But you have to have something there, whether it's even subconscious, because you're never going to give it 110% if you don't believe in yourself. So it starts with that belief. That belief is going to cause you to take action. So when you first have even the smallest bit of belief, that'll make you take action. Those actions are going to prove that you can make change, because you're going to see a little bit of progress. That a little bit of progress is going to start stacking with momentum. Momentum is the most powerful thing ever. That momentum will even, trigger a stronger belief. You're going to believe it even more, because you're going to see so much progress change that you can create a whole new identity. So it really doesn't matter where you are right now. If it feels like your life's over, if it feels like you won't recover, it is impossible not to recover.
Impossible.
You go all in and implement this.
And it's important to note too that clarity comes through action. Right now, you can't see the finish line. Right now, their mind is so overwhelmed by DPDR and anxiety, they can't even think outside of that. So that's why you first have to take action, and then the clarity comes as you move. Something I tell my clients all the time is if you're at the bottom of a staircase, you can't see the top, right? But you can see your next step.
Yeah.
So just take the next step. Take the next step. Take the next step. Eventually, you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's okay if right now you don't. Honestly, I don't expect them to see anything right now. Yeah. I expect them to take action regardless, just like I did it. I didn't even think it was going to work, to be honest. I had a delusion. I had a very slight delusion that what if I pull this off? What if somehow, some way I can make this happen and I can tell the story? And now here I am, right? But they have the proof in front of them. We are living proof. Our clients, with their proof. So that's powerful.
And when you see people on Reddit after 20 years still struggling, there's a reason that they haven't recovered. It's because they didn't decide to change their life. We had the decision, and we were like, all right, this needs to happen. So let's get right into it, though. Let's go right into...
I want to talk one more thing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Go for it. I want to touch on that point, that some people stay stuck in that for decades. Yep. They stay stuck in the self-pity, the victim mindset, the feeling sorry for themselves, the excuses, the countless doctors that don't know anything, the countless therapists that don't know anything, the medications. And that's how they stay stuck, You can choose to not be that person. And I know when I even knew that there were people like that existed, I was pretty terrified. I was like, I don't want to be that person, Thank God I wasn't. Yeah. But it all starts from taking action. They can very much be that person. Those Reddit people were once just like us, how we were, just a couple months, a couple years into DPDR. They chose not to recover, right? That's it. Don't be that person. And I want them to do a quick visualization. Guys, pause this video for 60 seconds, and I want you to visualize, what would the best version of yourself do? Genuinely. This is your roadmap. This is who you actually are. So what would the best version of yourself look like? What are their habits? What time do they wake up in the morning? What does a morning routine look like? Like, walk me through and literally schedule out exactly what the best version of you, what their schedule would look like. And that is the person you must become. That is it right there. That is the person that's waiting for you. All you have to do is step into that role. That's all you have to do, right? Step into the role of becoming the best version of them. And that's the golden ticket, you know? And then a negative visualization, I also want you guys to do this for 60 seconds. Like I was telling you earlier, what does life look like for you if you don't overcome this? If you don't take action, if you stay stuck in this, what does that look like for you? So here are a couple questions to ask yourself during the negative visualizations. How will I feel if I stay exactly where I am right now? How will it feel to know I wasted another year hiding from my potential? How will my family feel watching me stay stuck? What kind of example will I set for my future kids? And what dreams will I abandon because I was too scared to take action? And lastly, when I'm old and look back, will I feel proud or will you feel regret that you never took action? Let's get to it, Nick. Start us off. DPDR education. Let's go.
DPDR education. So what I want to mention before anything is like, what is anxiety?
Right.
We have to define anxiety. They have to understand what is anxiety. Because again, DPDR is all stemming off the one single thing, which is anxiety. Anxiety is not a mental health issue as much as it is a state that you're in. It's not something, I don't believe you can have anxiety forever. I can believe you can experience,
of course,
you can experience terrible anxiety, but what it is it's a misalignment, and it's a signal from your mind and body that you aren't aligned with the real you, with your higher self, with this version of yourself that was meant to exist. Okay, so
I can break that down a step further.
Yeah, go for it, man. Let's hear it.
So what is anxiety? So anxiety comes from your nervous system, right? And your nervous system's role is to protect you at the end of the day. That's all it wants to do, right?
Yep.
Your nervous system knows your highest values. Your nervous system knows what you want in life. Your nervous system knows you. It knows you to the core, right? And when you consistently act out of alignment with that version of you, that's when the signal gets hit. So for example, someone like myself, I'll just go off my personal example, right? My nervous system knew me. It knew I wanted big things out of life. It knew I was ambitious. You know, I wanted to do something with my life. I was a prior athlete, so all it knew was, you know, athlete training, things like that. And when I went to college and I started becoming misaligned, but you don't feel it in the moment. I was like, yeah, college, fun time, drinking, you know, smoking, having fun. But then all of a sudden I started waking up late. Then I started skipping the gym. Then I started skipping cardio. I stopped playing tennis, and I started eating bad. And all of a sudden, these little things add up to where your nervous system is like, hey, this is not okay. And it starts to just signal like, hey, this is anxiety. This is a sign of you're misaligned with the version of you you're supposed to be, you know?
Of course, yeah. It's literally a signal, and how blessed are we? How blessed are we to be able to experience this? Guys, I'm telling you, I would be a loser, degenerate, no life if I didn't go through this. And it was the one thing that saved my life. And the reason it did is because I didn't live in a victim mindset when this happened to me. And I actually looked at it and I said, you know what? I'm going to weaponize this struggle and I'm going to use it. So the first thing you have to understand, it's a misalignment. And now you have to understand, what is DPDR?
Right.
What is depersonalization-Derealization, which is the DPDR spelled out, obviously. Derealization is when, you know, things around you don't look real, and kind of objects, people, whatever. Depersonalization is more like you don't feel like you're in your body.
Right.
You feel separated from yourself. You don't recognize yourself, things like that.
And why does that happen? So long story short, DPDR is just the brain's way to protect you from an overwhelming situation. So whether it was like a lot of stress, whether it was a lot of anxiety, whether it was a panic attack, whether it was a bad drug experience, whatever the case might be, different triggers for different people. But the core disorder is still DPDR. It doesn't matter. I've had clients who got it from a divorce. Yeah. I've had clients who got it from drug experience. I've had clients who got it because they woke up one day. It doesn't really matter what the trigger is. It's still DPDR, right? So DPDR is just a dissociative disorder, anxiety disorder, where that happens, where you feel disconnected, where your nervous system hits a certain point where I describe it like almost like a water bottle, like, you know, like I was saying, you get misaligned through your habits, through the eating, through whatever the case might be. You have that one trigger where the water just overflows. And when the water overflows, your brain has a couple options. It can freeze, it can flight, it can disassociate. And that was a dissociation response that a lot of people refer to as DPDR, where you temporarily disassociate. But then what happens is that we start to get obsessed about this feeling and we're like, oh my God, what is this that we're going through? And then we start to research it and obsess over it. And that creates more anxiety. I'll talk about the DPDR feedback loop, but yeah.
It's the obsession, right? Like at the end of the day, obsession is what keeps you in the state. There's like
thinking about it constantly.
We were researching this even farther. Like we were trying to get a tea of like exactly like how many people, have this thing. And like, if you get 100 people in a room, science says like 1 to 2 people are even more experiencing derealization. And it's kind of something that I had a really hard time to believe, but it's super common. And it's the obsession that leads you to keep it forever, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I also found it super hard to believe when I was going through it, that up to 60% of the population will experience an episode of it.
Yeah.
And then about 1% of those people will develop the disorder itself. And I just think that's so interesting because no one in my circle knew about it, and I don't expect anyone to know about it. I didn't know about it,
Yeah, of course.
But what else we got?
DPDR is like a breakup. I mean,
we can definitely talk about that. DPDR is like a breakup. Go ahead.
Yeah. So derealization is like exactly like a breakup, and let's talk about state-dependent memory and how that works. So
state-dependent memory.
I want you guys to think about your ex. All right, think about your ex relationship when you first broke up. If you got broken up with, right, you're gonna initially freak out. Not freak out, but mentally you're gonna be struggling, right. And you're probably like, this is the end of the world. I'm never gonna get past this. And you probably loved him so much, but truthfully, it's not permanent, right? And it didn't last forever. It went away.
Yeah.
So DPDR is the same exact thing. It feels like forever while you're in it, but it's not forever. And when you do overcome it, you look back and you're like, man, what was I so stressed about? I know that I was stressed, but what was I stressed about? Just like when you look back at your ex, you're like, I know I loved her, I know I loved him, but I don't know. I don't know what it felt like. And state-dependent memory is because of your state. So if I'm really happy, I'm going to remember happy memories. If I'm sad memories. It's all based off of your emotional state. Mm-hmm. So when you guys can't remember even memories too, that's all based off of your emotion, the state that you're in. You're in a state of anxiety. You're going to remember anxious anxiety memories. It feels like this is your whole life. Mm-hmm.
That's so true. And I actually thought I came up, obviously I love the DPDR it's just a breakup, but I came up with a new one recently where it was like, I think we've all had those days where we like, our parents did something to us where like they didn't let us go to that friend's house and we're like, I hate you, and then you're just like, I don't know if you've had experiences like that where I'm just like crumbled up in a ball in my room, in my closet crying. Yeah. I'm like, I promise, I swear to God, I'll never forgive them for this. They're not invited to my wedding. They're not invited to anything. Good. I'm going to run away. Mm-hmm. And it feels so real in that moment. If someone held a gun to your head and said, was that true? I'd be like, yes, that's exactly what I felt like. And I felt like I was never going to forgive them for it. And guess what? I barely remember a moment I had like that. I remember I had so many, but in that moment, it feels so real. It feels like you're never going to overcome. They're never going to forgive them. And you do, right? And the same thing goes for the breakup. Like in that moment, it feels like, it's like, this is the end of the world, like I love them so much. How am I going to just move on? And then you move on, right? Mm-hmm. But the key distinction is, what if instead of moving on, you decided to obsess and go on their Instagram every day and go on their photos app and go back in the messages and look back at how you guys used to talk to each other, and you just cycled through that every second of the day. If you did that, you would never get over the breakup.
And there's some people who are never over their ex for that reason.
And there's some people that can never get over their ex for that reason. They're always thinking about them, right? Yeah. But that same goes for DPDR. If you constantly think about it, if you constantly check in on how you feel, if you're constantly researching for solutions, your nervous system never gets a chance to be like, okay, we're safe now. It's always on edge. So it's always going to remind you that you have DPDR. So it's just a loop, right? Yeah. If you can find a way to completely forget about DPDR, you would actually cure the disorder, which is the interesting part. But that's not how the brain works. You can't just forget about it. Yeah. But you can do what we're about to teach.
Absolutely.
I mean, your brain is like a turtle. This is a great analogy I can bring up real quick. Yeah. So DPDR is essentially like your brain going to shell mode. It's like a turtle. So in that protective mode, it gets stuck in there. Like that's how a turtle functions, right? When there's a predator, it goes into its shell and it doesn't come out until the coast is clear, right? But the problem is like our brain goes into that DPDR state. And since we're constantly thinking about it, researching, we're poking its shell. We're poking the turtle's shell and the turtle never gets a chance to come out of its shell, right? And when you finally learn to do what we're about to say and to live as the best version of you and to basically forget about DPDR in a sense, your brain naturally comes out of its shell, So that's just a good analogy to put it in.
Really good.
But yeah.
I love it.
Take the next one, Nick.
Yeah, so should we go more into the education?
Yeah, let me see. Ooh, I like this one, a dysregulated nervous system, like what that even means. So you guys have probably heard that word so much. If your For You page is anything how mine was, there's people on there tapping their face, there's people on there doing butterfly hugs, telling you to dump your head in cold water and do somatic stuff and all this BS. First of all, that's all BS. We probably won't get into that.
Doesn't work.
We're probably not going to get into that this podcast because we kind of did it in the last one. But anyways, what is a dysregulated nervous system? That's what people don't understand. That's the one thing. It's like everyone says regulate your nervous system, but no one knows what the hell that means. And no one knows what it's like what a dysregulated nervous system even means. So long story short, a dysregulated nervous system is a nervous system that does not trust you. That's it. It's a nervous system who simply lost its trust with you. And I'll read you guys a short little thing that I wrote. It's actually part of my course. So I'll give you guys a little insider scoop. But like I told you guys, when your nervous system knows you deep to its core, you can't lie to your nervous system. You can't. So if your deep goals and actions in life aren't aligning with the version that you want to become, then that's when your nervous system starts to lose trust in you. So think about it like a relationship. If you always tell your partner, I'll pick you up at 8, but you always come at 8:30, why would they trust you, right? If they say, we're going to go on a date this Saturday and you never go on a date that Saturday, maybe a couple times they'll let it slide, but at a certain point they're going to be like, what the hell? Yeah. And that's what happens internally, and that's why we experience anxiety, right? That's why the anxiety signal gets sent out. And depending on how you respond to that anxiety signal determines whether you develop a disorder or not. So if you don't know what we know, then you're going to be like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. I have all this anxiety. I need to fix this. I need to Google it. I need to do all these things. And now you just create a dysregulation of your nervous system. Your nervous system never got a chance to breathe, never got a chance to really feel what it's like to live aligned, simply because you broke that trust. Yeah. So that's long story short on what a dysregulated nervous system is. And
it's so important, so extremely vital that you understand what is going on, why it's happening, because if you don't, again, that fear response, that is going to be a lot more extreme, a lot worse, and that's going to send you in the feedback loop. Mm-hmm. So understanding it obviously is the first step, and that's why we're going through this first. Now, again, the trigger is going to happen. So sometimes your nervous system can get overwhelmed from a panic attack, a drug-induced panic attack. Again, if you got it from weed, whatever it is, right when the drug leaves your system, it's out of your system. But again, it can happen in so many different ways. Then you get fear from the way that you feel. This causes you to overanalyze, monitor, hyper-focus, and become so obsessed, right? That obsession comes into place. This creates even more anxiety, which hence increases more DPDR and these symptoms that you are experiencing, essentially.
Right, and that's a feedback loop you're talking about, correct?
Yes, exactly,
okay. Yeah.
And then because you react with fear every time, your brain learns that DPDR is dangerous, and it thinks that it's dangerous, and then you get scared and scared and scared, and it's like this persisting thing over and over again.
Exactly. And now you're scared of the DPDR, and then you're scared of the anxiety, and it just cycles into its own thing. And the truth is that a lot of people are scared of the DPDR because, first of all, it's a scary feeling, objectively. There's no way around it. But if you truly understand what it is and how to overcome it, it doesn't become as scary anymore.
No, of course.
But I want to bring up, I'm going to read it word for word so you guys truly understand what a dysregulated nervous system is, okay? Where was I? I want you guys to view it as like you are the owner. You're the owner of your nervous system. So when in a nervous system POV, when its owner is not protecting him and it's not doing what he or she's supposed to be doing, it starts to turn their back on the owner, right? Because you're like, okay, you're not safe for me, so I have to look out for myself. And now it's always on hyper alert mode. And that's when it's chronic anxiety, DPDR, overthinking, intrusive thoughts, whatever the case might be. So it's not your nervous system malfunctioning. It's trying to protect you, from your own neglect, from your own avoidance, from your own inaction. It's saying, I don't feel safe with how we are living. And when this continues long enough, your nervous system begins to overprotect you. And then that's when, for example, DPDR comes into play. But yeah, what else we got? Oh, how to align your higher self to address anxiety, right?
Yes.
So now that you guys understand that anxiety is just a signal, it's time to realign your life, okay? So the number one step you need to do, write it on a piece of paper, is take a good hard look at your life. Evaluate every single aspect of your life, your relationships, emphasis on that, because it's very hard to let go of people that you know are bad for you. Your relationships you need to evaluate. Your habits, extremely important. Every single habit of yours, every single one, and identify where the bad habits are. Your environment is a big one too. It goes along with people, or it could be just environment as a whole, and then your goals. Okay. From there, you need to ask yourself, where am I neglecting my needs and where could I be doing better? And I know I'm not doing better. Okay. That's a simple version, but that's exactly what you have to do. And then you just go and do it.
Exactly. You have to
take action. You have to have zero tolerance for misalignment in your life. When your tolerance for misalignment is at zero and you truly are living in full alignment with the one life you were given, and you finally live up to your potential and actually act like the best version of you, your nervous system and your brain have no choice but to regulate themselves and to rewire themselves.
Dude, absolutely. The thing is, like, it's impossible to not recover when every single aspect of your life is fully aligned. So a lot of you guys might think that everything's perfect, but one, you probably don't have a clear enough idea of what your higher self looks like. One of the things I actually did to know the best version of myself is really look at, like, what do I desire out of life? If you want something, if you close your eyes and you're like, okay, if I could have anything in the world right now, what would I get? That's probably your higher self talking to you. So you have to first know what you want, and then every single aspect. So another thing I do is I write down every single thing that's stopping me from being my higher self. And this will show you all the habits. It'll show you, like, your screen time, the content you consume. All of these things matter. Everything matters. Your wake up time you're going to bed, your diet, your friends, and all these environments.
Everything matters.
Your environment programs you at the end of the day. So if I'm friends with someone and they aren't aligned with the person that I'm supposed to become, a lot of times you have to accept that, like, that's something you might have to drop. And, you know, I have people that I still love to death, but I just can't be around because their morals aren't aligned with the person that I know I need to become. And I know my potential won't be fulfilled if I'm in a negative environment.
Yeah. And I want to include that what we're talking about, what we're preaching, like how to overcome this, is this only applies if you want to overcome it as soon as possible. Absolutely. If you want to overcome it within weeks, then you listen to us. If you want to overcome it in months or years, then you go listen to someone else. You know, there was someone that told me, you don't need to become the best version of yourself to overcome DPDR. And obviously I laughed because, you know, after the amount of people I've helped, it's like, who the hell are you? But anyways, I was like, you know what? They're actually right. Because I have heard of people, and people sometimes text me where it's like, oh yeah, just distracted myself out of it. And what I have to say to that is, like, you're either going to take that route of never taking action and hoping that by chance, somehow you overcome this, or you're going to actually take action and guarantee your recovery within weeks, right? Yep. If you're someone like me, I didn't have a choice. It wasn't like, oh yeah, let me wait another week. No, I was going to kill myself. So I needed to do that. That was the only way. And I was blessed enough to. It's like, why do people not want to be the best version of themselves? Why are they so lazy that they're like, oh yeah, I don't have to be the best version of me? Then what do you want to be? You want to be average? Like, you want to be mediocre?
I don't get that.
I don't understand, but I do understand because I was in that mindset and I just wanted a quick fix. I just wanted to get rid of this thing ASAP. Yeah. And the truth is, it takes work. Just like all great things in life, it comes through work, it comes through action, it comes through actually dedicating yourself to it. So that's
something I want to mention too.
Yeah.
Is alignment with your higher self is the key. Okay. So when it comes to being your higher self, I don't think it's necessarily fully possible to actually be, okay, I hit that my higher self. But this is not about actually, okay, I'm your higher self. There's no more ways to climb in my self-development.
No, it's about embodying.
Embodying and being in an alignment. So no matter what, you are on track to continue to progress. And I say like progression's the cure to depression in a sense. It's like continuing to progress is the key in making sure that your habits, your day-to-day is fully aligned with the person that you were meant to become.
Yeah. And let me ask you this, because someone commented this recently.
Yeah.
I think you'll have a good answer to this. How does becoming the best version of me, why does that relate to DPDR? How is that going to cure my DPDR?
Yeah. It's because your nervous system and your subconscious mind has no reason to trust you and no reason to believe that you're safe.
Mm-hmm.
And, something that I had a hard time understanding is like, it needs proof. You have to go out and actually prove that you're safe. And what I say is like, without proof, there's not going to be trust. Your nervous system has no way to trust you. That's why like DPDR and anxiety can't thrive when there's trust, when there's safety is built. So the real question you have to ask yourself is like, am I aligned? And then if you're not aligned, figure out what is in alignment or what's out of alignment, lock that in and take action relentlessly every single day. And it has to be consistent as well. 100%.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day. And that was a great answer. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. I have nothing to say.
And it's the best thing
perfect
too.
Answer.
It's the best thing too. Why would you not want to step into a better version of you? And I think go ahead.
But the thing is like, the reason I asked that is because I actually had the same question when I was going through, in a sense. I know I would have at least. I was like, okay, sure, I'll become the best version of me, but is that actually going to work? Is that actually going to get me the result I want, which is to get rid of this thing? The answer is 100 million billion %.
Yes.
Because when you understand how the brain operates and what we're going to get into, you hack into your brain's neuroplasticity, you align every single controllable factor with your desired outcome, and you get that outcome.
Yeah,
it works every single time. It's impossible for it not to work.
Can't not work. Your brain is forced to adapt to your identity, to neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to adapt and change, right? It's always changing. And there are laws that are actively in effect every single day. And it's either you choose to become aware of how you're thinking, the actions you're taking, and how you're living your life, or you can live unintentional, no awareness, and just drift through life and just get a result that you don't want.
Bang.
And that's why you need to know exactly what you want out of life. So these bad things are actually molding you and sculpting you into that person instead of just mindlessly making you even farther from your higher self.
Yeah. And that's such good information. I'm honestly jealous of everyone watching. I wish I had this information.
Of course.
Literally learning how to hack your brain for success and for recovery. I want to quickly touch up on the DPDR feedback loop. I know you brought it up, but I just want to go a little bit more in detail. Man. So a lot of you guys asked the question of like, why am I still stuck in this state? Like, why am I still feeling these feelings? Why can't I overcome this? Well, this is exactly how the DPDR feedback loop works, how the DPDR cycle works. Number one is the trigger. So something overwhelms your nervous system, whether it was fear, trauma, overthinking, stress, panic attack, whatever it was, right? That initial trigger. Then from there, the fear attached to that trigger. So you feel the detachment, you immediately start to panic. What's happening to me? Am I going crazy? Damn, we forgot to bring that up in the symptoms. Feeling like you're going crazy. That was another one of my biggest things.
Yeah.
But yeah, am I going crazy? Am I losing my mind? Then you start to hyper focus on it. You start monitoring yourself. You're like, okay, am I feeling it? Am I not feeling it? And now you get super hyper aware of everything. And this hyper awareness and this fear creates more anxiety because your nervous system thinks, oh, there's something must be wrong. And then this anxiety creates more disassociation, which is more DPDR. And then every time you react with fear to the symptoms, your brain learns that DPDR is dangerous. And then it keeps repeating in this cycle because it's a self-sustaining loop of fear, anxiety, detachment, and your brain is trying to protect you the whole time.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Guys, it's your brain's doing its job and everything that's happening is completely safe.
And I know it's like, it must suck to hear because if someone told me that when I was going through it, I'd be so pissed. I'd be like, no, like I hate these guys. Like this is the worst. Because I used to feel like this was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Like this was hell on earth. And almost everyone knows it's a protective mechanism, but they don't really get it. They don't really understand it. Yeah. No one really breaks it down how we do. But I used to hate hearing that, honestly, because I was like, no, like this is not my brain protecting me. Like this is hell. And I promise you guys, no matter how much you hate this thing, Promise you. It is your brain trying to protect you. It's your brain trying to keep you in your comfort bubble.
Yeah.
And that does not feel good. And that's why you feel all these terrible symptoms. And to be straightforward with you, like, it's annoying. Like, I don't even know why I do know why we have this DPDR protective mechanism, but it's almost like, damn, like, I almost wish it didn't exist, but it does. And now we have to do something about it.
It's all perception too. Like, if I express hate towards it, I'm going to get that right back.
Agreed.
And a lot of the things we're going to go over go into that same concept. It's like the way that you look at these feelings, the way that you approach these symptoms is key. And if I even express negativity to the world is it's a mirror from your thoughts and how you view it, right? I might view the world completely different than Andres based off of my life experience. And that's why we said proof. What proof does is it changes your identity. And I can't wait to get into that exact aspect.
Let's get it. One thing I want to bring up is that you don't have a special kind of DPDR.
No such thing.
There's no such thing as a special kind of DPDR. And I'm going to emphasize this because this is single-handedly the thing that ruined me.
Everyone has this.
Yeah, but I had it so bad to the point where I would never watch a video like this. I would never do it just because I knew that my case was different. So I was like, yeah, these guys are going to say blah, blah, blah. But
I was the same way.
I was like, I don't care because
Yeah.
they don't have what I have.
Yeah.
I thought I was so special, so different. And it ruined me, genuinely. So
course.
I want you guys to understand, I've spoken to thousands of people, worked with 129, and almost every single one of them genuinely believes that they had a special kind of DPDR.
Yep. No, of course.
Everyone goes through the same thing. I remember thinking I was the only person in the world that ever experienced this of all of humanity. It's not true at all. It's just that anxiety and DPDR it's a liar. It makes you think these things and makes you feel these things, even though it's not true. And it's funny because I work with a bunch of clients and they ask me almost the same questions. They have the same triggers. They have the same, like, I think I told you, I recently did like a data analyzation of all of my clients' bad habits, their dreams, their goals, their symptoms, their everything. I compiled it, and it turns out almost all of them are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
They had the same bad habits. They had the same triggers. They had the same goals. They're ambitious people. They're great people. And it's just so similar. So I just need them to understand they're not alone whatsoever.
Yeah, dude, of course. 100%.
Cool. What's the last thing we have? We have a couple things before we get into how to overcome module. I quickly want to touch about the brain regions involved in DPDR, okay? I want to give you guys a little bit more of an insider understanding of why you're actually experiencing these things and what parts of the brain affect how you feel. So number one is the prefrontal cortex. So the prefrontal cortex is a part of your brain essentially just responsible for rational thinking, self-awareness, decision-making, and emotional regulation, okay? So how does this relate to how you feel? In DPDR, the prefrontal cortex becomes overactive and it tries too hard to logically analyze everything and figure it out. That was another problem with me, is that I thought I could think my way out of it. I thought I could just figure it out logically, and it never works, okay? So this is why you might feel detached from your emotions, overthink everything, feel like you're watching yourself out of your body because your brain is in analysis mode instead of experiencing life, right? Then number two, the amygdala. A lot of people have heard of the amygdala. It's essentially your brain's fear center. So it constantly scans for danger and it activates your fight or flight response when it detects a threat. So how does this relate to how you feel? In DPDR, the amygdala is always active. It's hyperactive because you're in a state of dysregulation, right? So it's firing signals, even though there's no real danger, it's firing signals, keeping you a constant state of alertness and anxiety. So you might notice racing thoughts, tightness in your chest, your brain can't shut down, there's intrusive thoughts, all that, panic attacks, all that. That's all your amygdala, okay? And then your insula. Your insula helps you feel connected to your body, okay? So obviously, how does this relate to how you feel? You feel disconnected from your body. You feel like you're watching yourself out of your body, and you feel like you lost connection with yourself, okay? Last couple of things, the temporal lobes. So the temporal lobes are responsible for the sensory output and the memory. So the sensory output is obviously your senses. So that's your hearing, your vision, everything like that. And this contributes to the dreamlike feeling of DPDR, the visual symptoms, the auditory symptoms, all that. And then we have the hippocampus. The hippocampus helps form memories and connects it to your past, okay? So when the hippocampus becomes underactive, And that is why you feel like you literally can't remember memories. And that was one thing that I remember brought me a lot of peace, was that I realized like, okay, I don't feel connected to any of my past memories because my hippocampus is underactive right now.
Well.
Yeah. And that's why I was like, that makes more sense, you know? So long story short, a couple, you know, brain regions involved in the DPDR and how it relates to, you know, what they're going through.
Yeah.
Start us off with the misconceptions.
Yeah, so common misconceptions, guys.
I love this. This is going to really help you guys. So
this is going to debunk all the myths that go behind DPDR. A lot of times when you are in DPDR, you can ask yourself these questions, and truthfully, like if I would have had this, I would have felt so heard a couple of years ago. So the first misconception, obviously, is the fear of going crazy, losing your mind, developing schizophrenia, psychosis. That fear destroyed me. And the thing is, guys, DPDR is not a sign of psychosis.
At all.
It can never, ever, I'm saying this 5 more times if I need to say it 150,000 times. DPDR can never, ever lead into psychosis. And if I had to say is how many times I've told like people that, you know, reached out, like, again, this won't, you can recover. This is not like, it's everyone, like 90% of people experience this. So
it's such a common
symptom. Super common, and it can really, really happen. There's also the thought of never feeling normal again.
Wait, I want to touch up on that real quick.
For
the misconception of think you're going crazy, you're developing schizophrenia. So it's important to note that schizophrenia and DPD are almost opposites.
You would know if you had.
Yeah. That's the thing with like psychosis and schizophrenia. People that experience psychosis and schizophrenia, they're not aware that they're slipping out of reality, right?
Yeah.
With us, with DPDR experiencers, we are hyper aware that we're experiencing it, and we're scared of the feelings of, you know, going crazy. Like people that are actually going crazy, they don't know that they're going crazy. That's the whole point. If they knew they were going crazy, then they wouldn't be crazy, right? But since they're actually experiencing schizophrenia and psychosis, they're not actually aware. They're definitely not scared of the fact that they're experiencing this stuff. They're just living their lives, you know? And it might be distressing to some of them, but they're still living their lives, you know? With DPDR, again, you're hyper aware, you're scared, you're checking, it's an anxiety-based disorder. Schizophrenia and psychosis are almost the opposite of DPDR.
Yeah.
So that's
again, like if you have schizophrenia, you don't like, you're not scared of your own, like it's different. It's different. And that fear and that anxiety is proof. Like the fact that you think that something's wrong. Yeah.
I've talked to a lot of people with psychosis and schizophrenia, and they'll tell me the same thing. You know, sometimes they have very slight awareness of it, but for the most part, nothing. And they're definitely not anxious or scared of the feelings like obviously DPDRs are.
No, of course.
Next.
Got you.
Go ahead.
So the thought of never feeling real and normal again, very, very extremely common. Everyone, or 90% of people think that they're the one exception. That is a symptom of it. Like everyone thinks they're the exception. And I've had so many people tell me, no, I'm different. I used to tell everyone, no, I'm different. I can't. It's impossible. You can't. There's no such thing as that.
Yeah, I had someone text me today. They literally said, I genuinely feel like I'm the exception.
It's every single day.
It's every single day. Everyone thinks they're exception. They literally said like, yeah, I've seen your client results. I've seen everything, but I still feel like I'm exception. There's no other way for me to say that they're not the exception at all. I thought I was the exception. I was like the example, the prime example of someone who thought they were the exception, and I still freaking recovered in 5 weeks.
That shit. Yeah. This means I have like if you might have the thoughts of like, this means I have brain damage or some serious mental illness. That's actually something I really, really used to struggle with is thinking that my brain was broken.
Yeah, that was a big thing of mine.
Also like drugged up, like, man, I like when I smoked weed, I permanently damaged my brain. Crazy. You get these crazy thoughts, and I'm telling you, it's genuinely impossible. And it's your brain's like psychological nature. It's trying to find like, again, confirmation bias, which we'll go over. It's trying to find like reasons to why you feel this way. So it's going to give you all these intrusive thoughts. That's all these are. All these misconceptions are like intrusive thoughts. They're all symptoms of it.
That's it. I was like, I remember I was begging my mom for a brain scan, because I thought something was wrong with my brain. I thought something was seriously wrong with me. I'll never forget that day. And I wish I knew that I didn't have any brain damage. I didn't have a brain tumor. I didn't have Alzheimer's. I didn't have some undiagnosed mental illness that I thought I did.
Yeah.
Just anxiety and DPDR.
That's all it is, guys.
That's all it is. All right, let me take over a couple.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, kind of what you said, right? This means I damaged my brain permanently from drugs. That was another thing of mine, because I dabbled in some psychedelics and, weed. I thought like, oh, I changed my brain chemistry. This is something that I have to medicate myself or do all these things. Not true at all. Okay. And then this is a big one, right? Because mine came from, right? This is a quote, because mine came from anxiety, panic, or trauma or nothing at all. Mine is different somehow, right? Like people think that their trigger is different. Like we said earlier, every single person's story is unique, but the condition is the exact same. Your trigger might be different.
It doesn't matter how you got it.
It doesn't matter.
Like that's something that frustrates me.
That's the whole point.
People spend so much time trying to figure out like, but did this cause this? This cause this?
No.
You got to move on. You got to move on.
And you have to understand that it doesn't matter the trigger. Your brain still goes into DPDR state and your nervous system is still dysregulated.
They're all the same.
So it's the exact same no matter what. I've had clients of mine, childhood trauma. I've had clients of mine, car accident. I've had clients of mine, drug experience. Whatever the case might be, the solution is the exact same,
Yep.
Quote, because I've had this for blank amount of years, it's too late for me. It's never too late. Of course, I've seen it help people recover after months, years, or decades of DPDR. It's so possible because the brain is always rewiring itself. So neuroplasticity is always alive, always.
It's actually impossible not to.
I genuinely believe it's impossible not to. You know, I just had someone join my program recently, and they just told me how right before they joined the program, they felt like it was impossible. Like they genuinely felt like, I don't see how I'm going to recover. And obviously we talked about it and he understood it, but it's so common where people think it's like impossible for me to recover. Yeah. And I literally told him, I'm like, look, I'm not gonna say his name, but I'll be like, look, man, in my eyes, it's impossible for you not to recover. And I told him like, this isn't just me saying this for X, Y, Z. Like, I promise you, it is like I don't see a reality. I don't see a possibility where you don't recover. Mm-hmm. I don't see a possibility where someone doesn't recover with the right steps. It's impossible.
Yeah, keyword with the right steps, right?
With the right steps. If you're just gonna wait it out one day, it's guaranteed that you're gonna stay stuck in it, right? If you're obsessively checking yourself and feeling sorry for yourself, it's guaranteed. It's impossible for you to recover that way. Impossible. Yeah. Right. But with the right steps, it's impossible for you not to recover.
100%, man.
So. That's that. Right. Recovery means I'll suddenly wake up one day and feel normal. This was my biggest thing. This was like literally the number one or two thing that held me back was that for some reason I had this hope that one day it was going to disappear. And I think it's because online they say that a lot. They say, just live your life again and you'll recover, right? Yeah. Just keep doing, just live your life normally. It's going to fade away. Bullshit. That's not how it works. Yeah. Because my normal life was already misaligned. So if I kept doing what I've always done, I'm going to get the same thing I've always gotten. And that's why I get stuck in DPDR, right?
You always do what you always did.
The number one misconception. The number one misconception is that somehow it's going to fade away with time. That almost took my life. You absolutely cannot wait it out.
Guys,
waiting it out is a death sentence.
The only way you can guarantee that lasts forever is to genuinely do nothing about it, to wait it out. And yeah, there's a chance 10 years goes by, you can have that uncertainty if it will ever happen. But also, if you don't know how you recover, if you don't actually go all in now and do this and overcome it and follow the steps we're going to tell you, you're not going to know actually what got you to fully recover. Therefore, it can always come back, even if some happen. We're the 1 in a million to wait it out.
That is so true. A great point, Nick. I've had many clients of mine. I just had one that just made a full recovery, actually. She came to me 13 years into DPDR, and she had it for 2 years, then she didn't have it for a year, and she had it for 3 years, and she didn't have it for 5 years, and then she got it again. And this was the third time with it. She finally came to me, right? We finally addressed the root cause. We finally aligned her life fully. It took many months. We made it happen. She made a full recovery. Yeah. And that's powerful right there, right?
Of course.
But if you guys are just going to distract yourself out of it, somehow, I don't know how that works. I'm not going to tell you to do that. I have no idea how that works. It's going to come right back. Yeah. There's so many people that reached out to me saying, oh yeah, I experienced it when I was 16, 19, 20, and now I'm 30, 35, 40. I have it again, right? You have a client that's what, like 45?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it happens. It's so common. So if you don't address the root cause, it will be back.
Yeah.
And the worst part is that it comes back harder because this time you can't just distract yourself out of it. You can't. It's very, very bad. So don't be that person. Don't be that guy.
What I do with each and every single client like that does recover is I create them a post-recovery plan, and I do literally a case study. So I'll fully analyze like everything we did. I track everything, right? Every part of the recovery. And then they have a full plan. So like for life, they know how they can sustain it. I feel like that's the biggest thing that's had me such good success, because that was my biggest thing. I was scared that I'd fall back into it. And that's something I sure doesn't happen. Make sure no one ever. I'm always a message away, but I like to make sure they know exactly that, how they can sustain it with exactly understanding the things that went behind them getting out of it.
Agreed.
100%,
Absolutely.
man.
You need that. If not, they're going to fall back into it. And that's why we're so strict and so passionate with our clients, because we want the best for them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So post-recovery, post-freedom plan is extremely, extremely important.
Everything.
Yeah. Go ahead. Where was I?
Yeah. So you might have, you might constantly monitor how, like, how you feel like, and if it's being fixed. You're also going to think like, what if I'm different? Like, am I the exception? We went over that.
Totally.
Also thoughts of like, you're never going to be the same again. Like, am I going to be in this state for the rest of my life? That's extremely common. Also, like, your personality forever. Like, losing your personality. Am I never going to feel like myself again? Is my personality stripped? That's something that I really had as well.
Totally.
Also, intrusive thoughts telling you like I can hurt someone, hurt myself.
These are
you can never. Your intrusive thoughts aren't real. All right, like they don't exist.
It never leads to violent or uncontrolled behavior. I had so many intrusive thoughts. For example, even when I was driving, I remember having such crazy thoughts when I was driving with my girlfriend, and I was like, what if I just like flip the steering wheel over and we, flip and die, And I had these like imaginary photos in my head where like it was happening. It never happened. It's never going to happen because you don't act on those things. You're scared of those things. Therefore, you'll never act on them, And we can definitely touch on intrusive thoughts later.
100%.
Okay. And then you brought up, like I lost my personality forever. I'll never enjoy life again. I'm too weak to handle this. Absolute lie. Every single person can handle this. You've already been handling, matter of fact. You're surviving something most people can't even imagine. And you're strong. But now you have to actually take action and actually go all in. DPDR ruined my life. That's one of my biggest things. And one thing I want to say about that is DPDR did not ruin your life. If anything, it helped you become the version of you needed to become. A lot of people don't understand that. But if I could snap my fingers right now and help someone recover just like that, it would do them no good, because the only reason they were in that state to begin with is they were living a subpar, a mediocre life.
Absolutely.
Right? I would much rather snap my fingers and help them actually become the best version of them, because that's something they can actually carry with them and they can live literally their dream life.
Yeah.
One thing I said as soon as I recovered is you can literally create your dream life in a couple weeks. Like dream life. Not materialistic, but like internally you can create your dream life.
Yeah.
So yeah, DPDR didn't ruin anyone's life. If anything, it helped you become the person you needed to. Period. That's it.
Of course.
What else we got? Anything else? We obviously already talked about I just have to wait until I magically feel better. Absolutely not. Never, ever, ever wait it out.
Oh, also like when you don't feel like progress right away, you have to understand, we'll go into it, lingering symptoms. Like at the end of the day, when you say, if I don't feel like I'm making progress fast, it's not working. That's because in the past you didn't react right. And you're the day that, like, when you first start this, you're going to have like how you reacted in the past come up, and that's where you really get tested. So at the end of the day, your brain only, it receives and processes information. All the information you gave it in the past is what it's basing its perspective on life about. So when you respond with fear, hesitation, anxiety in the past, that's all it has, like, as your past experiences.
That's all it has.
And that's why people are
That's why you need proof that you're not that person anymore.
Yeah. Think about like an introvert or an extrovert. They don't, in my head, there's no such thing as an introvert or an extrovert.
No.
The only reason those exist is because of past experience. If I go and talk, maybe the last 500 conversations I've had, that's going to make my identity. And the way I change that is not by dwelling in the past. It's not about, having anxiety over the future, but it's about taking action and proving who I am, this new identity. I could talk to 500 people like I'm an extrovert, fake it till you make it, but it becomes that version of myself eventually.
We'll touch on that.
Yeah, of course.
All right, now
I'm super excited for this.
Now for the main event, how to actually overcome DPDR. Long story short, so how do we break the DPDR cycle? The simple answer is by rewiring your brain, and it's not as complicated as it sounds, okay? Something called neuroplasticity, which we'll get into, is just the brain's way of rewiring itself based on what you repeatedly do, think, and focus on, okay? So how do you overcome DPDR is you change what you repeatedly do, think, and focus on. When you control the controllable aspects in your life, your brain has no choice but to slowly start to rewire itself out of this state, right?
Absolutely.
So what I wanted to get into is, how does neuroplasticity even work? Because this is the mechanism behind DPDR recovery as a whole, okay? So I want them to think about it as a field of grass. So a field of grass, if you, let's say you take the same trail every day, right? You start to create a new trail. You start to create a patch in the grass, right? And that is essentially how neuroplasticity works. If you take the same path over and over again, you're actually making that path, and the neural connections are actually strengthening. And over a period of time, you're going to have different, you're going to have a different wiring, and that's how you rewire your brain, right? But if you consistently do the same thing you've always done, you're going to get the same exact result, right? But if you change the trail and you change the trail, your brain is starting to rewire itself out of the state, right?
Yeah.
How would you describe it, or how do you want to start things off?
I want to first start off by saying that you can become your new identity absolutely instantaneously. You don't have to. The only way that you can become recovered is to first say I'm going to talk about a little bit of mindset right now. First, you need to say I'm 100% recovered and live by that rule. Okay, so the 100% recovered rule is absolutely vital, and everyone has to understand this. Mm-hmm. You need to tell yourself, I hear right now I'm 100% recovered. All my actions need to reflect that. The way I think needs to reflect that. The way I go on my phone, the way I talk to people, it needs to reflect that. Not just that, but your higher self, right? And every single lingering symptom that comes up is just from the past. Again, it's based off of how you responded to the symptoms in the past. It's based off of your actions in the past. But you can change your future actions to ultimately change. So when these lingering symptoms come up, when you start implementing the things we're going to tell you, when these things come up, you have to realize these are lingering symptoms. And when you actually feel them right there and then, that is your opportunity within itself to prove that you are safe, right?
Boom.
Proof. So we're going to go over every single response to it. Do you want to start off with the responses, exactly how to respond?
Not yet.
I think we should go into...
I want to talk about the brain a little bit more, but I want to touch upon your point, which is the identity shift from I'm no longer a victim of the situation. I am recovered. I'm 100. My mantra for all my clients is I'm 100% recovered. Anything I feel is a lingering symptom and not worth my attention.
Absolutely.
Because when you understand that DPDR isn't the main event, it makes you feel like this is the most important thing in my life. I have to get rid of this. I have to monitor how I feel. I have to do something about it. But in reality, your life, your goals, your ambitions, that is the main event. DPDR is just a distraction. So when you understand hey, I have goals in my life. I have things I want to do. I have a life to build. Let's go for that. When you understand that, everything changes. So you tell yourself, I'm recovered. From this day on, I am recovered. That is it. Anything I experience, just a lingering symptom from the past, and it's not worth my attention.
Yeah.
And that's why that point's so key.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the brain and how it functions. So I talked about neuroplasticity, right? The way the brain rewires itself based on what you think, do, and focus on, right? But how does the brain actually function? So it has two primary functions. It has number one, it receives information. So your whole entire life since you were born, you've been receiving information, right? And then it has the ability to process that information. And between those two things, this creates your perspective. This creates your reality, right? Your perspective on things, right? And the reason this is so important, because if you understand all your brain really does is collect information and then process it to then give you an output, then you understand that your brain is input-output based. So if you give it BS, you're going to get BS.
Yeah.
If you live like a loser, you're going to be a loser. If you live like a winner, you're going to be a winner. That's how it works, right? So I want them to think about it. It's almost like a supercomputer. It's like Google, right?
Yep.
You have to give it the right inputs and then you will get your desired output. So when you go on Google and you search up how to bake a cake, right? You have to put the H, you have to put the O, you have to put the W, you have to put the space bar, and you have to put the rest, right? But those words have to be perfect. If not, I mean, Google has this the smart thing where it'll like, it'll kind of make sense of what you said. The brain doesn't work that way. The input you give it has to be damn near perfect.
Yeah.
And then it will give you the desired outcome, right? But let's say you, instead of doing how to bake a cake, you put like the H and then you put a Z and then you put a T and then you forget the space bar and then you do whatever, right? You're not going to get the same output because you didn't give the brain the right input. So the way you can correlate this is with your habits, right? Like I said, if you're constantly fearing the DPDR, you don't know how to respond to it, you're obsessing over it, you're thinking about it, you're talking to other people about it, you're feeling sorry for yourself, you're messing up the entire sequence. So if you do that, you're going to get the desired outcome, which is staying stuck, right? If you don't take action on Google, you're going to stay stuck. But if you put the exact words that need to be said, you're going to get your desired output, right? So again, like I said, control every controllable aspect of your life to the point where it's unreasonable for you to not be the best version of you and therefore make a full recovery, right? So I want to say that recovery only happens as a byproduct of you becoming the highest version of yourself.
Yep.
That's the key right there. And that's what people don't understand. You don't overcome DPDR by overcoming DPDR. You overcome DPDR as a byproduct of you becoming the highest version of you.
Yeah. And that's something I tell, like,
Boom.
I have clients join, and obviously we're overcoming DPDR, but I tell them, like, I'm your higher self coach. I am here to make you the absolute greatest version of yourself. And as you were saying with like the Google analogy, is when you have the big DPDR, it's like this huge problem. It consumes every single thought, almost all your thoughts in your head. What happens is it hyper focuses on that one thing. And just like a computer, when you have like low Wi-Fi or you have so many tabs open, it'll focus on the one tab that you're on. Your job is to to put the right information, but also new positive input. And you need to flood your brain with so much positive input, so much positive shit that like it literally has no choice but to push out all the negative bad information, because your brain can only, perceive so much information at once. Every single thing of information has to be, up to, what I tell people is up to a standard of excellence.
Up to a standard of excellence.
I say like if every single thing you do is up to a standard of excellence, there's something called auto-suggestion, which is, how your subconscious mind perceives like your identity and who you are based off all your actions. So in my life, what I specifically did was I kind of became like obsessed with what I love to do. For me, that was the gym, working out. That was my personal development, and I loved it. And that made me feel fulfilled. That was aligned with my higher self. So what happened was, when every time I go for a run, that last mile, I gave it my all. Every time I was in the gym, I'd give, every rep fullest. My confidence skyrocketed, right? And when you have undeniable confidence, your DPDR cannot thrive. It cannot live in that environment. So for you, it's really understanding like your higher self. How does this person talk, walk, act, live, and find out what it is. I have a client that DJ'd, and as soon as he started going out and living in that identity of what he was avoiding for so long, along with having good positive input habits, that's when he cracked the code. And the key is along with good habits, right? You can obviously chase it.
Of course.
You need also habits that are in line, right? All the inputs matters, everything.
Yeah, I want to simplify what you said. That's the 90-10 rule we talk about.
Absolutely.
Which is just like right now, your guys' brain it's like a circle, right? It has a max capacity. Your brain can't take up a billion things. It can only take up, let's say, 100, right? 90% of your brain right now is cluttered with fear, anxiety, DPDR, thinking about it. And when that happens, you're not in the right mindset to live. You can't live, But when you understand that, like you said, you have to flood your brain with positive input, you have to change your habits, you have to actually embody the best version of you, and you have to align everything with the highest version of you, slowly but surely the 90% starts to get replaced by all this new information coming in. Starts coming in, and all of a sudden you're like 80-20, and then you're like at 70-30, and then you start feeling the progress, and then you're 50-50. And before you know it, you're so involved and so focused on becoming the best version of you, and you just love what that's like, that you forget. It's not that you forget about the DPDR. It has no space left in the circle.
It just doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
You don't care.
Yeah, like it has no space left in the circle for it to thrive. Yeah. So your brain is grasping at nothing. It has no ammo to give you anymore. That's
Absolutely.
it. And that's when you really truly overcome it. And the same goes hand in hand with like a breakup, right? A lot of people say give it time, right? Sure, give it time, and yeah, you're gonna get over them. But what they don't understand is that your brain doesn't understand time. Your brain only understands input, right? So if you got over your ex, which you probably have, you didn't just give it time. You did things, right? You probably started going out, or you went to the gym, or you focused on work, or you did something else. Long story short, your focus was shifted. Your focus wasn't on the ex anymore. And little by little, your brain starts replacing all these ex patterns with new things, whatever it was. And then that's when you got over it. And they say time heals all. It's not exactly true, because again, the brain doesn't conceptualize time. Yeah. It's just input based. Yeah. You gave it so much new input to the point where it's like, doesn't affect you. The X doesn't affect you anymore.
And you become what you focus on. What you focus on grows. If I focus on negative things all day, that's going to consume my mind. It goes into my subconscious, and that solidifies this perspective on the world. And I remember, when I was going through it, I had this like weird perception of the world. I thought the world was repeatedly getting worse. I thought, humanity was done for. I had this really negative perception, but it was because my actions. It was because of what I focused on. And your brain can literally filter your world, and you can make the filter positive, so much positive input. There is no reality to where things are negative. I have so many people that come to me in really negative headspaces, and you have to look at every single aspect, like your self-talk. Really look at the way you talk to yourself. How do you treat yourself? Because if you can't even respect yourself, the world's going to respond to the way you talk to yourself and be like, wait, we hate this person. We don't like this person. Something's wrong. We have DPDR. So you need to understand that every single thought is going to be almost boomerang back to you, and gain awareness in that, and be able to catch yourself when you do spiral.
100%.
And go right back into positive input.
100%.
Positive input. You should flood your day right now. Everyone make a list of like, what are some high frequency? What's the highest self things that you can do right now?
Of course. And they know deep down, they already thought about it. Whatever just popped into your head, do that thing. Do those things. Take a little bit longer and think about those things. Absolutely. They already know. 99% of people already know what they have to be doing, right? But they do need some clarity on what the highest version of them looks like, which is why we come into play. Yeah.
Another thing is every action you take is either good or bad. There's not really any in between. And sometimes you make the trade-off. Like if I'm going to eat really shitty food, that's a choice, okay?
Of course.
I chose to do that, and I chose to do that, but I'm going to eat really good food to make up for it. And you have to look at it like withdrawals and deposits. You just need more deposits than withdrawals. More higher self. The more you can have, like, you're going to get rich based off of your actions every single day, and just stack deposits of high frequency activities. That's the key. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and I want to just put a button on it on how to hack your brain's neuroplasticity, so they can understand it. This is straight from my course. You guys are getting exclusive stuff right here, okay? Just read it word by word. Most people scroll through their life the same way they scroll through TikTok, mindlessly, just like me and you before, right? They wake up, they open their phone, they start consuming whatever shows up, they go through the motions of the day, reacting to things instead of creating things. They let their environment, their emotions, and random distractions control them. It's like living on autopilot. They're constantly scrolling, liking, and engaging with negativity, fear, stress, and limitation without even realizing. And this is where controlling the controllables is your superpower. You can't control every thought that pops in or every emotion, but you can control your actions, your habits, your environment, your focus. You can control your sleep schedule, your diet, your social circle, your content, your self-talk. These are the controllables, and when you master them, your brain follows. That's how you outgrow DPDR. That's how you outgrow anxiety. You stop scrolling through life mindlessly. You start being intentional. You stop reacting to life, and you start designing it. And once you control your inputs, your brain has no choice but to produce
choice.
better output. And I think that kind of leads me to the next point, which is impossible not to recover. Once you understand, guys, like we just said, once you understand how neuroplasticity works and that your brain is input-output based and that all you have to do is control the controllables and you're going to get your output, it's impossible for your brain and nervous system to not realign themselves. I don't think they understand that it's not like a choice. It's not like, am I gonna, like, your brain doesn't like take a second. It's like, oh, do I really want to do that? It's like, no, if you do X, your brain will follow. That is it. There's no other way around it, you know? And
it's a math equation.
It's literally an equation. That is the formula, period. There's no other way around it. That's something that would have brought me a lot of peace because I thought, maybe my brain works differently. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work any differently than anyone else's brain. It's still a brain, you know? It still has its functions. You can't like beat around the bush and beat around the functions of the brain. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Period. Point
and something
blank,
that's really important too is like understanding everything we talk about is so personalized to the point of like you hear all this stuff, higher self, high frequency activities. Every single person is different.
Every person is different.
In higher self, like what I do is I really look at every single part of your life, exactly everything, because there's so many little details that for you are different than for me, right? For me, my higher self, my best version of me did something that's different than you. And to also go on top of what you said about like how we're like mindlessly scrolling in our heads all day. I have a video in my course called like the For You page of your mind. And I truly believe like we all mindlessly scroll throughout our day. Every single thought is almost like a new reel. And just like if you reacted and engaged with like a sad video, you're gonna see more sad videos on your For You page, whether you want to or whether you don't. It's going to pop up. It's just how the algorithm works. Your brain, neuroplasticity, it's an algorithm, right? And you can change your algorithm by choosing the thoughts to engage in. And the key is it's a choice.
Boom.
And a lot of people, it's like if you're scrolling and you went through a breakup and you continue to engage with the sad videos, you're gonna see so many sad videos. You have to choose to engage with high frequency things. In everything, in the people you talk to, in the just everything you do, it has to be up to the standard of the life that you want to live. And again, this is how you do it in weeks, right? You can go half in, half out, and not do this, right?
That's what I'm saying.
This is how you recover as fast as possible.
That's what I'm saying. And that's a great point. I was going to save that for like how to overcome intrusive thoughts.
Okay.
But it goes the same for everything, right? Your brain is a social media algorithm, like you said. And if you're constantly engaging with negative thoughts, if you're engaging with your intrusive thoughts, if you're engaging with the symptoms, if you're engaging with all this negativity, your brain learns like, oh, he must like this. And he's going to give you more of it. The same way your social media algorithm doesn't inherently know what you like or what you want or what you don't want. It only cares what you engage with. Your brain is the exact same. It doesn't care if you don't like something, it's going to continue giving it to you if you're engaging with it, right?
Yeah.
So let's say this happens to me sometimes even on my stuff. Like there was one thing I searched up on TikTok the other day. I think it was like a plane crash or something happened where I searched it up. And then within a matter of minutes, my whole feed is like news. My whole feed is news, like plane crash, this and that. Even though I didn't want that other stuff to come up, I just was searching for that one thing. Your algorithm's like, hey, he must love this, so I'm gonna give him more of it.
Sometimes it's fun to like watch. Like sometimes the negative things, your brain like almost wants to. Just like it feels like safer watching those things. You're like when you go through a breakup, you watch all these like videos about your ex or all these crazy things. It's the same example. It's like your brain sometimes wants to, but it doesn't. That's not what you need. It's what you want, right? And a lot of times your brain wants to give into these existential, intrusive thoughts, crazy thoughts in your head. But when you do that, you're actively telling yourself, I want more of this. I want to see more of this. Give me all of it. Like that's one of the worst things you can do.
And that's why the intrusive thoughts, overcoming it is pretty tricky if you don't understand that. If the intrusive thoughts come in and you always fear it and you're always trying to figure it out or you don't know how to react to it, your brain just learns, oh, this must be something he wants. This must be something he wants. That's why the existential crisis happened to me. That's why intrusive thoughts and OCD-like symptoms happen to so many others, you know? Yeah. One thing I want to touch on is the two things that keep DPDR alive. These are the only things about you watching this video, why you still have DPDR, okay? DPDR only survives on two things, attention and misalignment. Those are its only two lifelines. If you take away your attention and you live in alignment with your higher self, DPDR has no power. zero gas. It has nothing to grasp onto. It becomes useless. So you cannot survive. It cannot survive without your focus and without misalignment. So when you stop giving it attention, you stop feeding it, you start living your life, and you start living your life as your higher self, you take away its purpose entirely.
Absolutely, man.
Great point.
Something that's so important is understanding, like, you become your habits, right? Nothing less. Like, you will always fall to your systems, right? So when I say, when you have a goal, like when you make your goals clear, your higher self clear, you will always fall to your systems and not your ambitions. You never rise to your ambitions, you fall to your systems. So it doesn't care about what you desire. Your nervous system doesn't give a shit about what you want. It doesn't care if you want to recover. It only cares about what you repeatedly do every single day. So when you show up, every single day. When you show up and you like want it with every single thing and you show yourself proof, it has no choice but to adhere to the fact that you're confident, you're recovered, you're your higher self, you're a winner. That's it.
It has no choice.
Absolutely, man.
There's no other way to say it. It has no choice but to just follow your lead. At the end of the day, you are the owner. You are the vessel. You have to dictate what your brain, you have to train it. And that's the whole point of neuroplasticity. You're essentially retraining your mind. You're rewiring it. That's how it works, you know?
It's about confirmation bias too.
What?
Confirmation bias and how it works.
Right. I thought we touched up on that a little bit.
Completely, yeah.
You want me to go? You can go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, the importance of your identity, right? Like, if I say I'm something, my brain's gonna look up for every single reason why I'm that thing. If I wake up today and I say, well, I am a runner, okay, I'm going to probably eat like a runner. I'm probably gonna go to work out like a runner. It's gonna look for reasons to why I'm that thing. If I say I'm this, and that, it's gonna look up for reasons. So you can change that. Give your brain every single reason to believe that you are recovered instead of it's going to try to find every single reason to why you can't recover.
Of course.
Give it the complete opposite of that.
Agreed.
Make it tell you every single reason why you are there. 100%, man.
100%. That's how confirmation, that's why it's so powerful. Was like when I was going through it, I was convinced that I had schizophrenia. So like every visual symptom to me was proof that I had schizophrenia.
Exactly.
So like I would see something, it would be a bright light or it would be like a streak of some sort. And I would be like, oh, that's it. You know, I'm going crazy. Yeah. And that was my confirmation bias. Something I said recently inside of my course was like, do you know when like you know how people make up their own lyrics to songs?
Yeah.
And let's say the song said like, I don't know, flower, but you thought it said like coward, right? So like in your head, you're like, oh yeah, blah, 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 coward. And then you thought that because you thought it said that, you're confirming that. Like, you ever go with like friends and then like you guys kind of have like an argument on like the lyrics, but then you guys kind of like play back the song and see like, wait, it kind of sounds like coward, but it also kind of sounds like flower. It just depends on what you focus on. Yeah. Right? It kind of, you know, like the Yanny and Laurel thing.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people can hear both. I can't, but some people can hear both. They're like, yeah, if I focus on Yanny, I hear Yanny. If I focus on Laurel, I hear Laurel. But yeah, the Yanny and Laurel thing was something that was really powerful to me because what you focus on, if you focus on that, you're going to get that, right? If you focus on something else, you're going to get that.
Yeah, I think we should go into the responses and like...
Let's get into responses.
This is the most important thing. I mean, not the most important thing, but obviously we have the mindset. We have exactly how to overcome it, like exactly what you need to do. Responding to it's practically just as important. So the first thing I want to go over is what I use the DARE response.
Go ahead.
I think you used something called, you created the SAIL response.
The SAIL response, very similar. Go ahead.
So the DARE response... You first have to...
Just to clarify though, this is what to do when you feel the symptoms in the moment.
When they come
Everyone
up,
wants to know, like, what do I do when the symptoms come up and I feel like I'm going crazy and I feel like XYZ? Go ahead, Nick.
This is exactly what you need to do when, you know, the symptoms hit. So the first is you need to diffuse it. So what I want you to do for each of these steps is write down what you're going to say. Own examples for yourself. Diffusing it, you acknowledge that it's there. You say, silly brain doing its thing again. Or my brain's just, is my brain just overreacting? It's doing whatever it is. You have like a diffusing statement. Next is you want to allow the symptoms to be there. This is going against what probably 90% of you guys are doing is don't fight it. Allow it to be there. Say, okay, stay here as long as you want. I'm not scared of you anymore. Next is you want to literally run towards it. Say, give me all you got. I want as much of this as possible. Like stay here like forever. I want to attack on this. You literally run into it. And then next is engage in some high frequency shit. Do something. Do something up that's like standard of excellence. Go back and see your higher self day to day. For sure.
I love it. So For me, I use the SAIL response, and it's very similar. And this is the response when the symptoms are very intense. So when the symptoms are intense, not like just a little thing. It's like the symptoms are intense. You follow the SAIL response. And the SAIL response is number one. Let's say the symptom comes in. Let's say it's you feel like you're detaching from your body, right? When that happens, the SAIL response is number one, S. So it's smile. So the first step is kind of like diffusing, is to smile at it.
Yeah.
Is to just say, oh, it's just my brain doing that thing again. Silly brain. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing as the D you said. So yeah, the symptom comes in, oh, it's just my brain doing that thing again. Then A is allow, right? So allow it to be there. So I use a couple different things. So that's why you brought up a good point, is like, what should they say in each one? So I'll give you guys a couple options. For smile, let's go back to S. So the symptom comes in. The first step is always to smile at the symptom. So I love saying, silly brain doing that thing again. It's just my brain, protecting me. Okay. Or I like this one a lot. Nice try, brain, but I know this game and I'm not falling for it. Right. Then you go into A, which is allow. Accept the feeling rather than resisting it. I love this one. This is where you say, fine, be here all day. I don't care. I'm 100% recovered. This is just a lingering symptom and it's not worth my attention. Then L is love it. This is where you really flip the script and tell yourself, I love this feeling. Show me what you got. And when you do this, it feels, trust me, it's hard. It takes practice. It feels like it's going against everything you believe in. But when you slowly but surely start to rewire your response and you tell yourself, I love this feeling, give me more, your brain is kind of like, wait a second, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, if he's not scared, then we're safe, And that's the whole point. It's like you literally flip the script and your brain is almost going to be like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
And then you engage in something else. So engage can be anything. Like what I teach is engage can be anything. It can be literally taking a sip of a cup. It can be like a visual anchor, like focusing on like the font on certain things, even going on your phone for a second and maybe playing a quick game. I remember I used to have this football game that I used to play when I used to do engage, just for quickly, like 30 seconds a minute, just to get your mind off of the BS and get focused on something else.
Maybe even go back to your conversation, like the most
Go back
basic,
into
whatever
anything.
you're already doing before.
So yeah, that's a SAIL response right there. And that's what I teach my clients to do in the moment when it gets very intense, right? When it's not as intense, I teach them to do the SAY response, which is just exactly everything we talked about, but without the L. So it's just more of a quick response where it's smile, accept it,
like that.
and then engage in something else really quickly.
And again, it's personalized for each of you. You guys can even personalize it to yourself. Like what would work best for you? What I like to tell people is like every time the symptoms come up, right there is literally your opportunity to prove to yourself you're safe. So like the symptoms are actually a good thing.
It's an opportunity.
Get excited. Like when I was recovering, they would come up and I'd be like, all right, this is my chance. That's why I tell yourself like, this is your time to shine. This is your time to actually prove yourself that you are safe.
Yeah.
Symptoms are not a bad thing. Like genuinely learn to love it. And it sounds completely the opposite that you would expect, but it's true.
If you can learn to love it, you're golden. If you can learn to love the challenge, the grind, the progress, the journey, you're golden.
Yeah.
That's when you really got it. Okay. Now I want to talk about, and wait, one thing I want to say is how this works over time. This is not a quick fix in the moment at all. We don't believe in quick fixes because quick fixes never get you the result, right? So how this works is in the short term, if you continue to do this, the symptoms are still going to come,
Lingering
but now you
symptoms.
know how to respond, right? Yep. Then in the midterm, your brain realizes, hey, there's no threat. So the symptoms die down a little bit. And then in the long term, the old pathways, because your response was so bad before, you rewire your response to it. The old stuff disappears, the new stuff is in.
Absolutely, man.
Cool. We got like maybe 5 minutes left, so let's talk about intrusive thoughts, okay? How do you overcome intrusive thoughts? So one thing I want to touch on is the bully analogy. I love the bully analogy. So when it comes to intrusive thoughts, you have to treat it like a bully, right? Mm-hmm. The bully wants you to react. It wants you to bite. It wants to get that anger, that reaction out of you. The intrusive thoughts work the same way. Let's say the intrusive thought comes in like, oh, I'm going crazy. If you start to like rationalize your way out of it, no, I'm not going crazy, or oh my God, it's so scary, you're giving your brain exactly what it wants. It wants a reaction out of you, right? But if you learn to approach it just like a bully and you don't give him that reaction. You just smile and use the say response. So the say response is what you use for intrusive thoughts, okay? So you smile at it, you tell yourself, yeah, just my silly brain giving me that thought again. You know, cool, be here all day, thoughts, I'm chilling, I'm doing my thing. And then you engage in something else. That's when the brain starts to slowly learn that, hey, these thoughts they actually aren't important. So we're not going to do them anymore, right?
Exactly.
Like we said, it's like a social media algorithm. If you're constantly engaging in that content, engaging in the thoughts, it's going to give you more of it. But if you start to engage in other things, the algorithm has no choice but to give you other things, because that's how the algorithm works. Same way the brain works.
Yep.
So yeah, what would you say about that? Like how to overcome intrusive thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say intrusive thoughts are always, you have to understand, like, they're literally a symptom of DPDR. And when I did the same thing. I was like, imagine you just got thrown into a locker and you're getting bullied by someone. Like, how would you respond? I guarantee if you got mad, if you started yelling at the bully, he's going to continue to do it because he feeds off your energy, your intention. If you continue to give your energy to these thoughts, again, the For You page analogy is actually very, very, very good for this. It'll stay longer if you keep giving it your attention. 100%.
Yeah,
I agree, man.
And one of the last things I want to touch on is setbacks do not exist. Setbacks are absolutely a myth. Like, it's not even my language. Like, when someone tells me I had a setback, obviously not my clients don't know how to use that word, but when someone else tells me, I'm just like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Like, the recovery journey is like, it's not linear, it's always up and down. So if you understand that your journey is going to be up and down, you understand that's not a setback. It's just part of my journey. It's part of my trajectory of the graph, right? So I'm just going to touch on that point really quickly because we don't have much time. But guys, never say you have a setback, because setbacks, it's not, your progress is not defined by how you feel. It's only defined by the actions you take and the plane you're on. If you take the actions every day, your brain is rewiring whether you want it to or not. If you take the actions, you are recovering, you are progressing. Absolutely. No matter what. Even if you feel like shit tomorrow, even if you feel great tomorrow, if you take the actions, if you do them, you're going to recover.
Everyone gets tested. That's the thing. Everyone has that last test. And the way I looked at it was like, if you feel the worst symptoms ever out of nowhere after you were making progress, that was God asking me, like, do you want to level up? Do you want to go to the next level? And you could either fall short, fall back to where you were. You could look at this and be like, you know what? I'm going to double down on what I was doing. I'm going to follow through. I'm going to step past this and actually progress, right? That's where you break through, right there.
Boom. That's it. It's a breakthrough. And this is such a good concept. I'm glad we're ending on this. Is, guys, stop trying to recover, okay? You guys have to understand you are the problem. Your nervous system is not the problem. Your nervous system is doing what it's supposed to be doing. You are the problem. And I'll read it word for word from my course again. This concept is so important that I'm going to say it again. I had to say it twice. Stop trying to get rid of your DPDR. You're missing the whole point. These feelings only exist because you are out of alignment with your higher self. These feelings are here to push you to grow into the version of you that you've been avoiding. And like I said, if I could snap my fingers and instantly take DPDR from you, that would do you no good, because yeah, you'll be happy for a few days or a few weeks, but then you'll fall right back into the same patterns, the same bad habits that kept you here in the first place, right? You would end up living a mediocre life far below your own potential. And one day you'll look back and regret that you never became the person you were capable of being, right?
Awesome.
That's it.
Incredible.
They have to stop trying to get rid of these symptoms and start saying, okay, I'm the problem. I have to take accountability for my life, my actions. I'm the hero of my own life. I have to become the best version of me. As a byproduct of me doing that, the DPDR pathways will fade away.
That's it.
Boom.
That's it. Yeah, guys. So
is there anything you'd like to end with?
I want to say, like, the biggest thing I want to end off with is stop focusing on the how and focus on who, right? It's not about how you exactly recover. It's about the person that you have to become in order to recover. So screw how you do any of this stuff we're doing. It's all of these things we're giving you is to become a certain type of person. And that person is not a new person necessarily. It's the real you.
It's the real you.
It's the real you.
Like, you guys have to understand, beneath all the distractions in your life, beneath all the excuses, beneath all the self-limiting beliefs, there's a version of you that's waiting for you to tap in. It's a limitless, unlimited power. It's the best version of you. And if you can you don't have to become that person tomorrow. Just act, fake it till you make it, embody that person. That was one thing that always stuck with me, because when you're in that state, when I was in that state, I was like, oh, becoming the best version of me is impossible. But I was like, okay, fuck it. What if for 30 days, I just pretend? I just act as if I was unstoppable, as if I was the best version of me. I fixed my life entirely.
That's it.
Just as a game.
Yeah.
And I did it. And I became that person, right? So don't put so much pressure on you. Like, oh my God, I have to become. Like, no. Think of it almost as a game. Embody and act like the best version of you until you become undeniable, until your brain has so much proof that you are that person, that your nervous system is like, I love this guy. And that's when everything clicks. The DPDR fades away because it has no reason to be there because there's nothing to protect you from anymore.
That's it. Yeah. To end it off, guys, like if you did take notes on this, genuinely go back, take notes, because
this is single-handedly the most powerful video, most powerful video on the internet. And if you don't take notes on this, you're just destined to lose, honestly. If you don't take notes on this, you don't take action in your life after watching this, unfortunately, I don't feel sorry for you because you're probably going to end up on Reddit in a couple years. And I'm only saying that to piss you off a little bit because I know how to piss people off. But I'm on a real note, like, I'm so glad we sat down for 2 hours and had it.
Oh, of course.
This is like the real deal. The real deal, no BS. And I'm gonna repeat it. If you want to actually recover within weeks, follow what we say. If you want to take years or months or decades, do anything else, okay? But more importantly, like, we're here out of a place of love because we've been in your shoes and we know it's like to live in the depths of hell of DPDR, and we've overcame it. And this is everything I wish I would have known. Like, if I knew this, I would have recovered in 1 second. Instead of 5 weeks, it'd take me 1 second to recover.
Literally.
But I really hope you guys do well with this information. I love every single one of you guys. And Nick, thank you so much for, spreading the word. And you're the man.
Let's go, man. We're saving lives. Let's go.
Let's get it. Awesome.
Yeah.